Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel. We'll be interviewing another special guest today. We'll be interviewing Chief Small, a chief at the group level here at my base. Alright, so this is a guy that has seen a lot, done a lot. He's an Air Force Ranger, worked with special operations, and has what I believe is an amazing perspective on just life itself. So I'm excited to get to this interview. We're gonna head there in a second, but I hope you guys are able to take something from this. If you guys like this content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button so we can keep this channel going. But I appreciate everybody who's watching, and we'll see you in there. Peace. To live in the present, you know? Make a list of dollars. So I appreciate you guys.
You your side.
Might do a little boost. My commander with me. Yeah.
Come on, open transparent.
All right. That's good. All right.
Awesome.
Let me get my questions.
Yeah.
See, you run a lot of people finally, sit and talk.
No, this is awesome. No, honestly, I was gonna say it on camera, but not. I'll say it again. But now I'm truly honored. I'm humbled and honored that she gave me the ask. I'm like, yeah. And I was like, man.
All right, guys, welcome back to the channel, and we have a very special guest. This is the chief over at my group, at my base. We have Chief Small. Welcome to the channel.
Thank you so much.
Great for having me here.
Like I was saying off camera, I'm humbled and honored to be even invited. So I truly
Definitely.
appreciate this opportunity.
Definitely, it was a recommended, so.
Oh.
Yeah, Master Sergeant Hall put me on.
Good.
So we should talk, and I've seen you around. I've heard of your story, so I think it's definitely, something cool that we can get done. So.
Excellent.
All right, so just here to learn a bit about, what you've done in your life and what we can show to others, what we can, what lessons they can learn, whether it's about just a military career or life or leadership in general. We'll just talk for a bit and see where this takes us.
Let's jump in. Let's go.
All right. So the first question, where are you from? Name, where you grew up, things you like to do, stuff like that.
Sounds good. Micah Small. I'm from Chicago, but I was raised in Wilmington, North Carolina.
What's going on?
Yeah. So my dad works for the Army Corps of Engineers. He still works there now. And after we left Chicago, he wanted to take a unique opportunity to do it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
He's a geologist by trade, and so that moved him down to the coast of Wilmington. And so we left the Windy City to head on down to Wilmington, North Carolina. A little different.
Right.
So I ended up graduating from high school there, but then after there I wanted to go on to college.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I went on to college, and I'd be honest with you, I didn't do my part. Kind of failed out of school, and I didn't really truly appreciate it. I was more focused on basketball and playing. I went to Lenore Community College. It was just a little junior college, try to hoop it up. I had some hoop dreams, hoop skills.
Okay.
So I thought. And then I really, just in reality, my dad, he kind of came home and he was like, "Hey, you don't flunk out of school. You got a plan?" I was like, "No, I don't." And so basically, he kind of gave me a scare straight kind of approach, and then he talked about the military. And by that point, I had already finished the junior college. I did growing up, and then I moved on to Southern Illinois University as far as taking classes. So I was in my junior year.
Okay.
And so when he talked about the military, I really didn't have any first generation. I guess I'd seen Top Gun, but I knew, and I had some uncles and my grandfather that fought in the World War II and in Vietnam, but still, no first year. I was really going to be the first generation military, and then at that point, I didn't know that I had a cousin also that was in the military at the time, but but then I found out later on he was in security forces also. But then ended up coming in the military, and so I'd say the rest is kind of history from there. I guess you said a little bit more about me.
Sure.
Okay, yeah.
Somebody would like to know.
Yeah. So my wife also has active duty as well. She's a master sergeant. She just made senior.
I've met her.
MK. That's my. I would definitely say for all you Grey's Anatomy fans, that's my person. She's my person. Then we have 3 kids. Jordan's the oldest. She's 14. Micah's the second oldest. He's 13, and then our youngest Elijah, he's about to be 11, but he's 10 years old. So that's what I call a team small.
That's good. So we kind of even went over to the next one. I was going to ask you, and I guess I have a bit of a similar story. I went to college for a bit, and like you said, I didn't do my part. And so I had my own reasons on why I joined the military, but do you want to elaborate on, like, what went through your head to say, instead of doing this, I'm going to choose the Air Force?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So to be honest with you, like I said, my dad woke me up and was like, "Hey, what's your plan?"
Right.
And I was like, "Get some breakfast." Really didn't have a plan. But then he started talking. He was like, "You're about a year out from finishing your 4-year degree, your bachelor's degree. You haven't done X." I really hadn't done anything. I was partying. I was kind of playing around. I just be honest, I was just playing around. I really wasn't really focused. I was going into my senior year that summer prior to, like I'd said, I had failed out of junior college, but I kind of got my head back together,
right.
And then I went on to Southern Illinois, but. I still didn't have a plan, and so he was like, "I'm gonna take you to a recruiter."
Mm-hmm.
And so he took me to a recruiter that Monday morning,
Oh.
and then that's when I kind of found out a little bit more about the military. Then he told me about special operations. He told me about the combat control, and he was like, he said, "Hey, if there's something you would like to do, then we can sign you up." And I was like, "Oh man!" Showed me a couple different videos. And I was like, "Man, that's what I would like to do." I took the pass test and everything. It was relatively easy, and then the rest is it. And then I went on going on to the military. But to answer your question as to why the military, to be honest, I don't know. To be honest with you, I really don't know. I knew it was a lifelong dream of my father's for sure, and he wasn't able to go in the military. But I knew it was like, hey, I need some structure.
Right.
I did. I needed some discipline for sure. I was a good kid. I think I was okay, smart wise. But I really, again, still didn't have a plan. So coming to the military was the best option. Plus, I had some student loans.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll be on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the opportunity for the Air Force or the military to pay that back was enticing.
Right.
And so that's so the rest was kind of history after that.
Okay. So, you said you did 3 years of school.
Yeah.
And you went to recruiter. Was there ever talk of commissioning, or did you want to go enlisted?
You know, it's funny. It wasn't. It was not. So, a funny story. So, I did not find out about officer or commissioning or even the other side until after I was like halfway through basic training.
Really?
And when it was an emotional event because I was like, there's another side that makes more money,
Right.
and all you need is a 4-year degree, and I'm already more than halfway there. And at the time, I thought he was giving me a deal. He's like, "Do you have X amount of credits? I forget how much he was now, and you become as an A1C."
Yep, that's right.
And I was like, so again, I thought it was a win-win. This guy was doing me a favor.
Right.
So when I went back for recruiter's assistance, must admit I was a little emotional. But then, I mean, again, I can't fault him.
Right.
I didn't ask the questions, nor did he share. But but either way, I think I learned later on as about the other side of becoming an officer, getting commissioned, and all that. So, but yeah, no, I think later on in my career, I definitely was excited, or at the opportunity or the idea of becoming commissioned for sure.
What? Not as it kept you on the enlisted side, but what made you want to stay enlisted then?
So a funny question. So honestly, I tell you in reverse. The reason why I did not want to do it because I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I was doing it only for the money. That's
Okay.
it. That's all. I really just wanted more money. That's it. Now I'm not saying that's a bad idea, but it can't be the singular only idea.
Right.
And I had an absolutely phenomenal supervisor when I was stationed up at Fort Dix, New Jersey, and he came to me and I was putting together an OTS package, and I was putting together a special operations package to go in to be able to go to a selection for get into a special operation. We can get into that a little bit later, and then obviously to go through OTS, I had to put together that package. So I was kind of doing simultaneously. And so my supervisor at the time was a captain, and he was like, "Hey, I'm willing to support either idea," but I was like, he's like, "If you don't mind me asking, why are you doing it?" And so I told him, I was like, "Hey, I'm going to do it for money. I think, more responsibility. I think I can do it." And then he was like, "Well, I'm going to let you sleep on it." He's like, "I got a question for you in the morning." And I was like, "Okay." So we come back in the morning, and he was like, he's like, all right, Mike. He's like, you have a burning question. And you only can ask one or the other. You can't ask both. You only can ask one or the other.
Okay.
He said, you go into a room, and in one corner there's a major, in the other corner there's a chief. Who do you go ask your question to? And I was like, well, the chief. He paused for a second. He's like, why? I was like, well, I know the chief has been around for a little bit. I know the chief has some knowledge and some wisdom, and has kind of been through the war, so to speak.
Right.
Again, no offense to the major. I don't know if the major is just is a commander or not, or he or she has done different things. I don't know anything about that. However, I know to make chief master sergeant, you have to have been there and done that. And so he's like, exactly. He's like, so do you really want to become an officer? He's like, I'm out. And he did again one more night. He said, we'll talk about it again tomorrow night. So that night, I thought about it a lot, actually, because I was like, well, really, why am I doing it? And I forgot to share. He also shared with me, he was probably enlisted.
Okay.
And he showed me some of his experiences after he crossed over. Some of the different experiences he went through, the different perspectives he gained, how his eyes were open, and how he, quite frankly, he didn't like it. Because of some of the different opportunities and the career paths that we have enlisted, there's a lot more opportunities.
Definitely, yeah.
Versus an officer, it's kind of stovepipe. There's unique and there's great opportunities as officers as well.
Right.
However, there's not as many opportunities, specifically of things that I wanted to do for more of that tactical, operational level.
Right.
Being able to influence different things. And so from then on, I kind of made the choice for myself, really. And I was like, man, well, okay, well, now I want to be a chief.
Right.
And I'm going to do what it takes to be a chief.
Wow. That's a good story, because that's something I think about too. You know,
Yeah.
I came in with some college, so it wasn't an option at the time. I still got a bit to go, but that's something I'll have to think about.
You
know?
should. And to be honest with you, I'm not here to influence anybody, but what I would say is really, truly do some reflecting. Why for you, though? Because I would venture to say a lot of different, because now I have the opportunity some years later to come across a lot of different individuals that were prior enlisted or just for traditional OTS, Air Force Academy, or whatever route they went down.
Right.
And just to kind of pick their brains and talk to them about why. And one of the things I learned, it is a different culture.
Definitely.
It is a different atmosphere and different rules and regulations that they kind of fall under. And especially when you talk about being in command. That the burden of command, just different things when you think about from that perspective. Not saying that you can't do it, because I think you absolutely can do it, but I will for sure say, do it for you.
Right.
But more importantly, what do you? Not only why do you want to do it personally, but selfishly, I want you to do something for me. If you're going to do it, how can you influence others by now you becoming an officer? Because to me, the ultimate pinnacle is how are you giving back.
Right.
You know, it's not really, I mean, yes, partly for you, but more importantly, it's about the people you can influence and you can affect.
If you do it for yourself, that you'll never be satisfied.
You won't. Not only,
Right.
Exactly. You not only will not be satisfied, but more importantly, it's going to come out in your actions, your decisions, and quite frankly, they're probably going to weed you out because you're not doing it for the right reasons, and it's going to be glaring because then they're going to put you in different positions or opportunities, and then it's going to be like, maybe he's not cut out to be an officer.
Huh. Okay. That's definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
But going on to the next one. So, you talked about it a little bit. You were started out security forces or combat control? 'Cause you said
So my combat control story is quite short.
Okay.
It was only like 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
I realized went through the pass test after basic training. The pass test was
Right.
fine, but they did a thing called water confidence, and I
Right.
realized
I've seen some videos.
me and water, we have a love-hate relationship,
Uh-huh.
and I wasn't ready. So my hats off to all pararescue combat controls or anybody who just has a good affinity for water.
Right.
But Micah was not ready at the time.
I understand.
So it's so funny. Then you go back to the in-service kind of recruiter kind of thing in basic
Right.
training, and she was like, "Hey, you have really good ASVAB scores, but we only have three jobs still available for you right now." And I was like, "Oh, well, okay. Well, what are the 3 jobs available for me right now?" And she's like, EOD, firefighter, or security forces. And I was like, "Oh, well, man, I'm kind of ignorant to all of those. Can you give me a little bit better understanding or job description?" And she was like,
Right.
"Yeah." She told me a little bit about EOD as far as, and I was like, "Man, that seems pretty cool, but I don't want to get blown up."
Yeah.
What's the next? So firefighting, I was like, "Oh man, that seems cool also."
Right.
But I really don't want to go into burning buildings. That's just not kind of my thing. And so when she said security forces, again, at the time, I didn't equate that to law enforcement. She showed me this awesome, sexy video of people jumping out of planes, shooting guns, and doing some other things. And so I was like, well, why didn't you start with this video? And I was like, man, that's it. Sign me up. So fast forward, not even a few. I ended up going to tech school because it was right there at Lackland, and going to tech school and had a blast because we were actually shooting guns. I hadn't jumped out of planes just yet, but we're doing all these cool things. And I was like, man, yes, man, God has moved out. Yeah, I was excited. And they're like, hey, your first base is gonna be New Mexico. In my mind, I thought they say Mexico. So I was like, I'm going overseas for my first assignment. Needless to say, again, geography probably wasn't my first strong suit. But needless to say, when I showed up in Alamogordo, New Mexico, mind you, I told you, Chicago, North Carolina, went to school in Southern Illinois University. And so kind of, city life. Yes.
Very different.
It was extremely different. I wasn't ready. I'll be honest with you. It was a culture shock to say the least for me. However, I had a true appreciation for home, and family life. And when I, just like you came to the gate, or you're in the gate, you have some other defenders that you have friends with or whatever. But the first reality when I was at night in midnight, because I was on mid shift, standing at the gate, I was reflecting and questioning life. Like, what went wrong here? I thought I was going to be jumping out of planes and shooting guns, and I'm standing at the gate at midnight, tired. Yeah, I was like, man, I've made some bad life choices. But either way, so that was my first experience with security forces. And obviously, since then, I've obviously had to make some different choices for sure.
I was going to say, because you were one of my FTAC speakers, and you told us you were a Raven. Went through special operations, went through Ranger School. Can you tell us like a summary of what you've done throughout your career?
Yeah. So I would definitely say, let me start by saying I've been fortunate, extremely. I would definitely say what I call wisdoms. Other people call them mentors or call them people that influential people in their lives, but I call them wisdoms because I feel like they're imparting their wisdom upon me and to me. And so I had absolutely a lot of really good wisdoms at Holloman. And funny story, I ended up going to my first deployment. It was to San Vito, Italy. And it was during the Kosovo conflict, but I got exposed to it, special operations, because they had a little hub that they were kind of launching missions out of there to go into Kosovo. And so, and I was like, man, who are these guys? From special forces to SEALs. I mean, it was just all kinds of, and I was like, man, this is going back to those combat controllers, some other things that I think I want to be a part of. So I kind of picked their brain and really got smart on different things, from Ranger to different things. But one of the days I was on the flight line and kind of providing security on one of the mobility aircraft coming in. And I seen these guys come off with flight suits and guns. And I was like, well, who are they? And so they come over to me, and I was like, oh, well, let me jump up and see who these guys are. And then they start talking about security and different things about it. And of course I'm answering the questions, but I'm like, why are they asking questions about security in flight suits? So they go off, they come back, and I was like, hey, can I ask y'all some questions? So they start talking to me about the Phoenix Raven program. And so I was like, oh. They're talking about the flying away security and some different things like that. And I was like, how do I do that? And they told me one of them happened to be an instructor up at Fort Dix. And so I again picked their brain, got their contact information. So I ended up deploying back to New Mexico, and I reached out to them. I was like, hey, what's the opportunity? He said, can I walk me through the opportunity? That wisdom, Mr. Tillman, he kind of helped me through the process. And I ended up shooting a resume, getting accepted, and then again, I kind of fall on assignment to Fort Dix, New Jersey, McGuire Lakers now. And so, and then the rest is kind of history. Well, as soon as I got there, I became a Raven instructor, and I went through a lot of different combat skills type training. But 9/11 kicked off. And that really kind of changed the trajectory for me for everything. Because right after 9/11, we ended up, not even 1 or 2 weeks later, we kind of got suited up, ready to go, and then we got moved out, and then we ended up going to what you know now is Qatar. IUD. And so we ended up setting up IUD. I ended up being there for 10 months. And I got an opportunity, again, that exposure to different things from a bear-based perspective. Again, as a senior airman, I was a staff selected at the time. But then I would fall into the next individual that became the second wisdom kind of in my life, really. His name was Jamie Newman. He was a ranger. He's also an instructor as well at the Fort Dix. But and I kind of saw the ranger tab, and I was like, "What is that? Tell me a little bit more about ranger." He's like, "You're not ready for it." I was like, "Oh, I was just like that." Okay, Roger that. And so I ended up, I almost kind of somewhat stalking him because I wanted to know more about it. Right. And he ended up being a little bit friendlier. And so he ended up telling me about it, from Ranger School to different opportunities, what Army Ranger really is, or Army Ranger School is, what are different opportunities that the Air Force provides if you become Ranger qualified. And so I was like, oh man. And he was like, and then he put me to this this assessment. I failed miserably, especially in the hot desert there. But then he put me on this training program for the next basically 3 or 4 months while we were there. And then he's like, hey, when we get back, I'll actually run you through how it works and what you need to do, from water confidence to physical fitness to weights, running, so forth and so on. And he really developed everything. And then he also put together the training and the knowledge, because it's all centered around Army basic infantry task.
Right.
And so again, I'm an Air Force guy. I didn't know any of that. So him and another Jamie Newman, not Jamie Newman, but Jay France. Jay France was another wisdom that really, these two influential. He was also an Air Force Ranger. Okay. These two kind of changed the trajectory of my life. It really kind of molded me and put all this knowledge into me. And I was like, hey, pre-Ranger is going to be, because it was like the fall that, and they was like, hey, you'll go through a selection, we'll sign you off. You go to pre-Ranger. If you do well there, you go on to Ranger School. And I was like, yes. Unbeknownst to me, we get to pre-Ranger, and they became like Satan, both of them, evil. But it was good though. I jokingly, because they were not friends, they were cadre, they were Ranger instructors.
Right.
But they put me through the paces. Granted, they had already trained me on all this other stuff, so they were just assessing me, and other Ranger candidates. And so I end up graduating. I'm becoming second in class. You only end up saying, I think like 22, 25 of us. I think only like 10 graduated out of that, and then only 3 of us went on to actual Army Ranger School.
Wow.
And then and so I ended up going to 4 of us ended up going to Army Ranger School, and luckily for me, I ended up going straight into Army Ranger School about a month or so later, and then went on to Army Ranger School where, that changed everything for me specifically. So I would argue Army Ranger School is the premier leadership course or training opportunity for the Air Force. I mean, for the military, not just for the Air Force, but for the military as a whole. But it's obviously ran by the Army. But it's funny, I learned more about followership than I ever did about leadership.
Really?
But yeah, because the ability to intrinsically motivate somebody to do something that they know physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that they do not want to do it, but to get them to be able to do it,
right?
It takes a lot. But first and foremost, you got to know a little bit about them. So you got to be a little bit more intrinsically to get a little bit of understanding of what's their why, what motivates them, and what why do what they do. So you can use that as a leverage, or to try to influence them. Hey, I know you don't want to do this. But this is why it's important for you to do this. But so I learned all those skills, and I got a lot of reps and sets of doing that while in Ranger School. And of course, I learned leadership too, of course.
Right.
But I ended up losing 50 pounds.
I think you told me this. Yeah. That's right.
It was funny. After I graduated, I remember my mom and dad came to the graduation. She didn't even say hello. Now how you doing? No, none of that. She just broke down in tears. I was like, You all right, Mom? And then my dad was like, "Whoa, you need to eat, brother." So, but again, I didn't realize. I don't know if I didn't realize how much weight I had lost, really. So, so I ended up driving all the way back from Georgia back to New Jersey, and every time I got gas, I would get a snack. I was like, I'm gonna put the weight back on. Needless to say, I ended up meeting back up with Jamie Newman and Jay France, and I remember at the time, Jay. I think I was eating like some snack or something like that. And he was like, "Micah, it is significantly harder to bear the tab than it is to wear it. To bear the tab than it was to earn the tab. So understand that." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "If at any point in time while you're wearing that tab, you can't meet the standards, you don't have the self-discipline, or you don't have what it takes to have that kind of warrior mindset, warrior ethos, then take the tab off."
Right.
And at the time, I was like, again, I was young, motivated, still hoo-hoo, and I was like, whatever. But that changed my perspective on a lot of things, because I don't think I realized until that point how much of a glass house it really was, and how many people watch what I do and not do and grade my action on it. And to fast forward, I ended up tearing my Achilles, and I ended up gaining a lot of weight. Obviously I wasn't mobile, but I remember that conversation. And so I took the tab off, and I didn't wear it for a while, for about a year or so, until I got back in standards. Because for me, it was one of those things where, if I don't have the self-discipline to keep myself in shape, to keep myself, that image or that, then no, I can't represent what it means to be not only an Army qualified Ranger, but an Air Force Ranger. I can't do that.
Right.
And so for me, ever since that particular point, putting the tab back on, that became the standard, period. Because I knew everybody's going to grade me on that standard. Like right now, if I ask you, when you see the tab, what do you think?
I think of some bad A stuff,
Exactly.
That's what I'm thinking.
But if I was fat, or I had a beer gut, or you didn't see me working out or whatever, what would you think?
Does he really work for what he has?
Exactly. Or that was a former him, or that that was before. That was a former action guy, or that was somebody else. This guy that is in front of me is not the same individual. Life happened, or whatever the case, something may have happened. But however, I'm not upholding the standard.
So it's holding yourself. You can't hold anybody else accountable if you don't hold yourself accountable.
Facts. And for me, that's what I kind of live by, that self-discipline. Because how can I hold you to any kind of standard whatsoever if I'm not holding myself to it?
All right.
And so for me, it's kind of like waking up in the morning and going to work out. If I don't have the self-discipline to get up and go do that workout, again, how can I expect you to just do something simple as go get prepared for your Air Force PT test, or show up to do something I need to do in your work center, or to be that good supervisor, or whatever the case may be that I need you to be? Then again, it all starts back to, do you have that personal accountability?
Right.
And to me, how can I enforce that on you if I'm not holding myself accountable? So that's kind of how I look at it. So from there on, I ended up graduating. Fast forward to there, I kind of speed up a little bit. I ended up going to I ended up teaching pre-ranger that following year, and I ended up finding out about special operations. And there was a job call at the 6th Special Operations Squadron, Combat Aviation Advisors. And I was like, what is that?
I think I've heard of that, actually.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. And it's essentially what I like to call is, think of like Army Green Beret Special Forces, that Foreign Aviation Defense, that FID, going in and advising partner nations, that particular skill set that they have, or that's the Air Force has that same skill set, that same capability, and this unit does that. And so when I found out about it, I was like, man, I want to do that. What does it take to do that? So that's when I found out about that selection process. So circle back to, I was back at that point where I was like, do I become an officer, or do I do this selection process to become a combat aviation advisor?
Right.
And so obviously I made the decision to go become a combat aviation advisor. Ended up going down to do this selection, come back, and I ended up getting picked up. And then I ended up going to Fort Bragg. I went to language school for 4 months to learn Spanish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I took some other additional training while I was down there, and then I moved on down to Herbert Field, Florida, and ended up being there for almost 10 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then I ended up going to, I only count the countries I was in like 3 months or more. Actually, I say 1 to 2 months or more, and I ended up being in 36 different countries.
You got a list? Can you name off any?
Oh, God, no. But I can say I went to just about every continent.
Wow.
And so I had the opportunity, and it was an absolutely unique opportunity. And it was some absolutely exceptional individuals I got the opportunity to work with, not only in the unit, but also going to these partner nation countries from, so my first trip to Guatemala to my last trip to the continent of Africa and in Kenya. And every country in between, having the opportunity to work with and going to embassies, working with the different ambassadors and different things that they needed, with that particular and the country teams as far as what they needed as far as a military presence and military things. Circling back to what we needed from a special operations or big Air Force DoD perspective, what we needed from that partner nation.
Right.
And so now to include, hey, what are the different capabilities that country needs from us as far as training on from a fixed or rotary wing capability that they want to get trained up on to something from a ground perspective, like from a law enforcement or force protection, firing, jumping, airborne operations, or you name it. Communications. We had a comm nodes and everything. The different things they may want to learn, and so they would give us like I call it like a buffet menu. they would kind of request from us, and we would go and say, hey, we could do this, we can do this, and this is how long it would be able to take us to be able to do that, and then we would develop a team to go in and go do it.
So we are working with like other militaries from other countries, or not just.
So other militaries.
Okay.
So, for example, like in Guatemala, I got an opportunity with their equivalent of special operations, the Army, their kind of Rangers. It's called the Kaibil. And so I got an opportunity to go through some training with them, and I got an opportunity to do training on them and running everything from firing to do different tactical type skills and doing different things up in the mountainous areas. Absolute blast. It was just a unique opportunity, and I got to do that just about everywhere, to include in Pakistan and doing some other different countries. I got the opportunity to do that in, and so for me, it was just that unique opportunity to go do that. It's funny, kind of circling back to my Raven days. I remember we were in Pakistan, and they were talking about different capabilities they need as far as they were having a problem bringing fixed wing into the Afghanistan, Pakistan region, as far as kind of landing in these short airstrips and doing different things. And the pilots were like, hey, we can train you on different things. Rotary wing, hey, we can train you on different things. And I was like, man, well, what kind of security do you have on the ground once you hit the ground? And they were like, none. I was like, well, let's train you on some like flyway security kind of capabilities.
Right.
And they were like, what does that look like? So I'm in a suit and I stand up and I'm on this dry erase board kind of drawing it out. And they were like, yes, I want that. I was like, roger that. This is what we need. This is what I need. And we are coming and do it. And so I end up trying to get that. It ended up being almost 2 years to get that capability, going back and forth, on and off. At first we were going 6 months at a pop, and then it kind of slowed down to every other month. But we were going there often to doing different missions there to not only do that, but do some other things that we were trying to do there. So that was my opportunity in special operations, not only to be that ambassador, that silent warrior. But also to take my skills to that kind of next level, because I had those combat skills, I had those training, but now I can teach, other Air Force members or other military members, Air Force or Army members as far as that training. But now to teach other countries that, it takes, and now in their particular language. So my Spanish is not where it needed to be at. it was terrible. Or my French or my Farsi or my Urdu wasn't anywhere it needed. And so luckily, thank God, we had some translators. And so that was another unique opportunity. They're kind of because there was a lot lost in translation there, and so there was a lot of squiggy lines, a lot of different things. So it was an absolutely unique opportunity to be able to do it. But one of the things that when I graduated too, my last few years there was to become a team sergeant.
Okay.
So a team sergeant, you and the OIC, you would get that team like I was talking about together, that capability together, make sure they were good to go as far as spin up training and then an assessment phase, and then we go into that particular country. And so you're responsible for everything for that country, for that team.
Right.
And so and kind of like special forces, the team sergeant was it. Even though OIC was like, hey, team sergeant, what are we going to do? What are we not do? So to be able to graduate to that level, to be able to do that, it was one of the most unique honors. Begin and I did it at a young age, as more of a senior staff sergeant, but as a junior tech sergeant, and then growing into, and then end up making master. But yeah, it was to me, I really learned fast that rank is rank.
Right.
Rank has its privileges, rank is good, but rank does not equal capabilities. Rank does not equal intelligence. Yeah. So I learned really, really fast that, hey, just because of what your rank is, that doesn't determine nothing to me. I'm going to give you respect. I'm going to give you everything that is afforded. However, you may not be the person that can answer my question, or you may not be the person that can actually accomplish what I need you to accomplish.
Sure.
You may have some other skill sets, some other talents, some other things that whether you're young, like you're young and you're being exposed to part of, or you're a little bit older, you were exposed to it outside the military. Now you're in the military, hey, there's some other skill sets that you have there, and so that learned very on, and that kind of shaped my career. So I ended up going to Colorado after that. Back to a traditional security forces squadron. And I tell you, that was a humble. Yeah, because I left as a senior airman and I came back as a master sergeant, and so there was a lot of learning that I didn't know, and so I got an opportunity. I had to marry myself up with a senior airman because I was like, who knows security forces?
Right.
That they do, and so
Definitely,
they really taught me security forces again, and I got the opportunity to learn again, and then ended up going to Northcom. Where I got to learn more of a strategic perspective, kind of like CENTCOM is here, Northcom from the Northcom AOR, and so I worked in J34, and so I learned like how FBI, CIA, and other law enforcement agencies, and Coast Guard and the like, how they work in harmony with the DoD to protect Northcom.
Right.
And the Northcom AOR, and it was just a unique opportunity to learn a lot, and then they were like, going down to Texas after that, down to San Antonio, and I became the contingency, all kind of contingency operations / AEF kind of deployments for security forces. And so I was my team was responsible for all deployments for security forces, and so headache. But it was again a unique opportunity to get a learning curve, kind of peek behind the curtain, because I got an opportunity to see how deployments kind of come in from the big machine, and as far as the requirements, how it goes through jokes and all the way down to, hey, this is a requirement for big security forces, and now how we're tasking it down to respective MASCOMs, bases, and so forth and so on to that particular security forces squadron, and the capabilities that they're looking for. And so I learned the immense amount. Ended up making chief fire there, and they moved me over to and become a MASCOM functional manager. Now it's still over kind of the deployments piece, but now I'm over the manpower and the training piece too. So that became another rude awakening of 25,000 active duty members. Another 5 to 7,000 total force. And so how security force enterprise moves and shakes, and just learning that. But one of the things I became out of touch with reality, because it became a number. Individuals were putting them on assignment to MacDill Air Force Base, or putting them on, or sending them on deployment to Afghanistan or whatever. They became a number, really. And I knew I lost touch with reality, and I was like, man, I want to go back to the unit level.
Right.
Bad, or just I want to lead troops. And I was like, what's the next assignment coming out? And they were like, you going to Mildenhall? RAF Mildenhall was opening up in England. Yeah, and so I was like, yep. Okay, small team. Off we went. And then so that was another opportunity to cut my teeth against big security forces again, back at the unit level. And again, an absolutely unique and rewarding opportunity to just lead people. But I would say one of the things I learned while I was there is kind of more importantly, I knew what my why was as far as my family, taking care of what I want and the things that intrinsically motivated me. But that was for me personally. But I kind of developed and understood my why for the Air Force, or professionally, and that is to really truly take care of people. Because I thought I was doing that for the most part, but not from the perspective of helping people get out of their own way. And so for me, that started really. Because I had been coaching, I had been certified coaching, like life coaching and coaching to that point. But I was kind of doing it in my civilian sector. That didn't really bleed over to the Air Force really like that. And so then I kind of married that up with the things I knew in the military and the Air Force, and then I started really truly honing in coaching. And instead of I think mentorship is good, and mentoring how people mentor is great. But I think what we need in the Air Force, from Mike's personal humble opinion, we need more coaches. Because mentors are great, but in Mike's opinion, mentors means you're kind of up here and your mentees down here, and you're pulling them up to your level. Versus coaches, we're right here. and we're equally getting you to that level. But I'm using some of the wisdoms and knowledge and understanding and experiences I have to get you there. And so we're going through this together. And we're working together. It's just like when you watch a team, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, Tom Brady may be out there leading a team down the field, but you have all those coaches that are helping him get there from that one end zone to the next end zone to score that touchdown. And so that they're working alongside him, and they're working play after play after play, going through it all through with maybe not in the thick of it,
right?
But they're helping him, and again, they're looking at it from an outside perspective, helping them to see that, hey, this is what you guys want going on. This is what they were affected last play, so forth and so on. And it's the same thing with what I say the Big A Airmen. Instead of, hey, this is how you got to my level, this is what I did and I do. What? Hey, take yourself back down to their level, and let's collectively together get up to that level. And it's not even. And again, another thing is mentorship. It's not to my level. No.
It's the best of.
Exactly. It's to their best of their ability. What do they want to get to? What do they define as success? What are their goals and aspirations? And that's where, hey, again, to the different things I've been able to afford it to do, opportunities or whatever, help you to get to the best version of you, not of Micah, of you. Because what I don't want you to do, don't compare yourself to me, or don't feel like, you have to do it the way Micah did it. No. Because there's 1,000 million, probably a million different ways to do what it is that Micah did. But actually, more importantly, do you really want to do what Micah did, or do you want to do what you want to do?
Right.
And so it's irrelevant what Micah did, maybe to help you, but more importantly is what you want to do. And so that's where, for me, that changing, kind of turning that mentorship to, and just looking at it differently and having a different perspective on it. And so at Millennium, I got the opportunity to really truly cut my teeth and really define that for me, and so what that looks like and how I want to do that, how I want to express that. And having 300 plus airmen under your charge, I got a lot of people I can kind of get some reps and sets on it. And so, and I ended up kind of taking that to the group and into the base there. And so it was just a unique opportunity to be able to do that. But I found so much reward out of from that, because it was like to figure out what your why is and what intrinsically motivates you and help you get there. It was as if I did it. And so it was just so fulfilling for me. And so that's why I realized, hey, man, because for a long time I was like, what do I want to be when I grow up? I got all this education, all this, and for me, I was like, it's just pieces of paper.
Right.
But then I was like, man, I want to be a coach. I want to teach people how to, get out of their whole way and then be the best version of themselves, because that motivates me so much. So that was a long answer. I hope I answered a couple questions
you probably did.
in the midst of that. But for me, that that gave me, and then I got hired for this position, and Colonel Lashinsky ended up being a phenomenal breath of fresh air. Not only did the initial interview, but the follow-up interview and some other things, and then became a unique opportunity, to take my, our skills to South Beach, like LeBron said. And talk to the team small, and we're like, hey, we're going to Florida. And it ended up being a great opportunity for all of us, really, to come here to Florida, for my wife going over to CENTCOM for the kids. And it's just been a phenomenal opportunity to come here. Now, I must admit, I realized, again, what I also realized in Florida the first time, I feel like I'm allergic to humidity. Because I'm like, man, I'm just like, man, me and this humidity have a love-hate relationship. And so, anyway, jokingly, it's just, I look at the view right now, and it's like, it's a beautiful view. And more importantly, I tell people all the time, be thankful for what you're grateful for.
Right.
And then ask yourself repeatedly, what are you grateful for? Because we could be up north somewhere, and it could be snow on the ground, it could be cold, it could be kind of muggy or whatever. So is it really as bad as you really think it is? Or just take a moment, take a step back, and be like, man, what do you truly appreciate? And focus on that.
Right.
And then appreciate that, because that truly is going to truly just change your perspective. Because what you focus on is what's going to drive you.
Definitely.
And if you focus on what's positive, half full, all these amazing things, then you're going to have a more optimistic outlook on life or your situation. Now, it's not always going to be rosy. That's not getting twisted. It's not.
Right.
But if you have more of an optimistic perspective or look on it, then the better it is going to be for you and outcome. Because now, instead of looking at why me, look at it from the perspective of what am I going to gain and learn from this?
Right.
Because now you're looking at it a different perspective. Because at first it's looking at woe is me. Okay, what can I learn and grow from this? Because now I can use those things to add into my little toolbox, and put in my little rucksack, and now because it's probably preparing me for something else that I probably asked for
Right.
in the future. So that was a long answer. I apologize.
That was a long answer. I do like that though. That y'all are equally great in pushing each other. That's something I've never heard before.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
Going on to the next thing, you covered it a bit. What is the role now that you're chief at the group level? What is the role of a chief at the group level?
So what I like to look at it is for, obviously there's a lot of different roles and responsibilities. For me, you're not only the intermediary between the squadron level and the wing, but also you're to enforce, you're to the advocate from the wing down to the squadrons. But more importantly, you're to take care of the squadrons.
Okay.
From the senior enlisted leader, you're helping them with that perspective, helping to share not only the enlisted perspective, but the total Air Force, the total enlisted Army, contractors, civilians, so forth and so on, their entire perspective, and convey that from the mission support group up to the wing. And so they understand, hey, why that decision may not be a good decision, why the second, third order effect of those decisions or those policies that from a wing level.
Right.
But also, more importantly, from a wing coming down to the squadrons, the why. Because a lot of times at the squadron level, you may not be privy to the different understandings of why decisions are made at that wing level, or even higher, the numbered Air Force or the MASCOM or the Air Force level.
Right.
But now to be able to understand that, but now be able to communicate that down to the squadrons in a way that's effective, so they can understand it, and again motivate them to be able to give the best product or do what they need to do or to get behind this particular initiative or this priority. And so at the group level, I think you're that good go between.
Okay.
So I like to say, from the bottom up, you're the advocate. From that top down, you're that kind of disseminator, communicator.
So you work with Colonel Lashinsky. Where do y'all differ in jobs? Because y'all are kind of like a pair as a colonel. and chief,
No,
so-
he's the commander.
Right.
He's a mission support commander, but I'm his advisor.
Okay.
And I'm advising him on everything from like we talked about, just people issues and concerns, and to some of the different decisions that he wants to make, or different things that he wants to go, or some of the things that, hey, another thing too, what are some different rumors or issues or problems going on within the squadron? Because quite frankly, a lot of times they may not want to talk to a 06 and or an officer, but however, again, as a chief, I can go up or down. I'm still I could just be like, and try to get in and be like, okay, help me understand what's going on, so I can advocate now back up to that 06 level. It could be A1C, one striper or no striper, or it could be FGO or whatever. But then I'm like, okay, hey sir, this is what they meant behind that, or this is why the second order of that decision. And so helping to advise him and ensure that whether it may be a blind side that he may have or not, or to help him to understand that, hey, this is to help him to cheerlead our airmen doing absolutely amazing things and everything in between. So but no, he's the commander, and he's moving out making absolutely phenomenal decisions for the mission support group, and I'm right there helping to advise him on all those different decisions, but also being able to help applaud everybody up and down.
Okay. That's a good way to see it, from a big bird's eye view of that.
Yeah.
So you talked a bit. You have a lot of education. You got your bachelor's, I think it was in arts, was it?
Education.
Education. You had another one in
Psychology.
in psychology, and then you have a master's degree as well. So what keeps you wanting to get educated,
Yeah. It's funny. I look at education as currency. I heard that years ago. It's a new currency. I think education, because for one of the things that I feel like education provides for you is what you don't know.
Right.
But also, not only does it tell you what you don't know, but it also gives you a vehicle or an opportunity to be able, or an avenue to be able to go figure it out. Or to learn it. Like one of the things I learned, in my PhD program was how to research things. At the master level or the bachelor level or before that, I knew how to research different things, but I didn't know how to, at that PhD doctorate level, how to truly research a topic. And so to learn that was invaluable. Now I didn't end up finishing it, but to taking those skills away. So for me, education is that opportunity. It's opening the door to endless possibilities.
Right.
And so for me, again, but that's to me, that's just a way. Education. I mean, you can go the brick and mortar way, the associate or whatever. But I'm a big fan of certificates. I'm a big fan of just other opportunities out there. As long as you're educating yourself, you're making yourself that much better.
Even for a more combat type role.
Exactly. Yeah, for anything. Because here's the thing: if you're not educating yourself,
Right.
then are you truly combat effective or combat ready? No. And Mike is home because I learned more about researching and understanding and learning what our adversaries' skill sets are or not, weapon systems, so forth and so on, different how they do different things.
Right.
And again, back to the education. Again, that quest for more knowledge and understanding. Again, education taught me that, and so
Right.
I've just applied that to everything I do of why. Okay, go research it and get a better understanding. Whether it be, why General Brown's action steps are this, or to General Manhattan's policies are this, to, why does Colonel Johnson want to do why?
Right.
Well, let's find out. And so, but I think a lot of times, and when people kind of push back on education, like, oh, I came enlisted because I don't want to get, I don't get educated or whatever. Okay, Roger that. Okay, but here's the thing. We're the Air Force because we're the most educated. No offense to the other counterparts, but the Air Force, we pride ourselves on thinking.
Right.
One of the things I think our senior leaders empower the enlisted force to be able to do is to critically think. How can you critically think if you're not educated?
True. Right.
How are you arming yourself to be the best version of yourself if you're not educating yourself? Again, get out of the mindset that it has to be this brick and mortar, it has to be a social bachelor. Yeah, there's room for that, and there's opportunity for that. But education is much bigger and broader than that, and that's where I would ask people to say, hey, there's a difference. Don't just say education is you get a bachelor's degree from Southern Illinois University. Okay, but man. You probably that certification that you probably got in comm or you got a certification in something else
Right.
is significantly probably a lot more applicable and palatable for what it is that you're doing day to day than that bachelor's degree would ever could be. So again, education is for me is that opportunity to not only realize what I don't know,
Right.
but the opportunity to ability to learn how to get more knowledge and that quest for understanding and perspective and just growth. And so that's what I want. And so last but not least, I'll make this just a little bit shorter. For me, I'm just a lifelong learner.
Right.
I am. And here's the funny part. When I found out that the Air Force will pay for it and Micah doesn't have to pay for it,
Right. That's what we're
Roger that.
Yeah.
Roger that. So it's like, well, why not? Because so why, for me, it's just like, why not?
Right.
And then here's another thing too. I don't know what I don't know what I don't know. But here's another thing too. As you quest for it, well, we talked about, 6 months ago you picked up doing this.
Right.
I'm sure you probably thought, hey, I want to be an influencer, or I like videography, or I like interviewing people, or whatever that initial thought was. But you had to go research it.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? You had to get educated on the process and the steps, and then you said, okay, what kind of equipment you need? What kind of what does that look like? How do I interview people? What kind of awesome questions do I ask people? Again, it's still education.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Again, it's just arming yourself. That's it. It's arming yourself to be dangerous.
Yeah, I read this quote one time, and it was like, if a seed isn't growing, it's dying.
Fact.
So you have to keep continuing, or else you're not really improving it.
No, it's so funny you said that. It's like the bamboo tree.
Bamboo tree, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, like when you ever think, and don't quote me on this, I know we're about to be on, it's about to go out to the web, so don't beat me up. But like for a bamboo tree, so you put the seed in the ground,
Right.
and you have to water it consistently over and over again for I think it's like between like 5 and 10 years before you see any growth whatsoever.
Wow.
But the funny part is, under that soil is building in all those roots, and then within less than 6 months to a year, it goes to the full full growth potential.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah. Not only is it dying, but you never know all that work that you're doing that you don't see any progress, or you don't see the reaping the benefits of what it is you're doing.
Right.
Just wait. Just wait. You know what I mean? Trust the process.
I never knew that. That's cool. That's a good way to see that.
Yeah. So I have to look that up. So make sure I'm you know,
Oh, yeah,
but I'm
that
always,
makes sense. Yeah,
but yeah, no.
exactly.
When I found out about the bamboo tree, I was like, that's ingenious.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, that's because it makes you, because everybody gets frustrated or disappointed in the struggle.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? The process of like, why am I still here? You know, my goals are to be here, whatever the case may be. And the reality is, are you comparing yourself to somebody else, and that's why you think you should be here? Or is it the process that you do all this stuff and you're going to leap past those steps because you're going to learn all that stuff you need to know now that's going to put you right here?
Right.
You know what I mean? And but if you quit though, or you give up, then what?
And you're just throwing it all away. Bro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, going on. Real quick, how many years have you been in so far?
So I just hit 23.
23.
Yeah, April 1st
Okay.
was 23. Yeah.
So we know a bit of why you came in first when you first enlisted, and you've talked about this a bit. What's kept you to stay? You know, because 20 years is a long time. 23 years is a long time. What's
It is.
kept
I
you
feel
to
like an
stay?
old man over here. As I look at young me.
I still see you in
younger.
the gym all
I
the
do.
time,
Hey,
man.
I got to try to stay a step ahead of you.
Right.
Or not you, because you're way ahead.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you're the average bear.
Okay.
But to be honest with you, why am I still in? I feel like I have a lot more to give. I do. And here's another funny thing. More importantly, I want to be a chief because I want to be at the table and help affect policy, decision makers, so forth and so on. But more importantly, I made these stripes on the back of so many exceptional airmen.
Right.
Exceptional airmen. And here's the funny part is, and I say this humbly, I don't feel like I'm worthy to be there at times. I don't. Because, and I say that, humbly and being vulnerable, because I knew some exceptional individuals at all levels in between there that would have been, to me, in my personal opinion, leaps and bounds better than I am as a chief. But for whatever reason, the cards weren't cut out for me either to make, master, senior, or to be chief. And so, I look at back at those individuals that either wisdoms or people that helped me to be able to that put time and energy into me. I will be pissed at myself, and because I feel like personally I'm being selfish. Because all those people gave so many blood, sweat, and tears for me to be able to get here.
Right.
And I'm not going to give it back and try to build more people up. So my quest, my goal is to build not only more chiefs, but just build more good all around leaders, just good all around people, and people that actually care.
Right.
Because I'll be honest with you, we there was a lot of people in the Air Force that can lead. But I'll be honest with you, there's not a lot of people that care. And I think for me, I'm not trying to build more leaders because there's PME for that. There's other people for that. But I pride myself on I want to teach people how to actually empathize and actually care about people and take care of people. And so for me, that's why I'm still in because I want to take care of people. And for me, especially at the group level, I get the opportunity because I'm not over a squadron. I'm not kind of contained by the different nuances that the admin drill or the computer. Well, the computer and meetings don't get it twisted. It does take a large, but the opportunity to not be tied to different things and get out and influence, like from a comm squadron to contracting to the FSS to you name it, to be able to get out there and just say hello. That's it, and see how their day is going. And to be honest with you, to be able to be like, to change their perspective about different things, or more importantly, what I really want to know is what is their perspective? Not to change it, really. More importantly, just what is their perspective, and how can I be at this level better at advocating their perspective? Well, if I don't get out there and just say hello, then I will never know, and I will never learn.
Right.
And then here, more importantly, again, back to the education piece. I learn more from these conversations I ever have in a book. For me personally, because I want to hear about your story.
Right.
I want to hear about why. You can read the exact same book I read, and you're going to get a different perspective from that book. And for me, I am like, well, why? Because I want to know. Because I missed it. Did I miss that page? Did I skim over that paragraph? Probably not. Because the lens at which you look at things through is your upbringing, your values, things you're being exposed to.
Definitely.
Is significantly different than mine. But I want to know why yours is the way it is. Because one, I want to be better. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, let's not get it twisted. Right. It's that Mamba mentality. I want to beat you. And it's not physically beat you, right. But I want to be the best version of myself so I can be that best version. And so, because I want to make you keep competing.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, because here's the thing. If you saw this fat, chubby kind of Micah over here, and that was the former Ranger or whatever, you already know you're better than me. Mm-hmm. Not in rank or position or whatever the case may be, but in your mindset, you're already better than me. But if I'm making you work harder, right. And making you think, and you're like, it's almost like a carrot.
A carrot.
Yeah, because now it's like I'm like this because he's like, oh, I'm almost at the standard, and then once you get to that, you're like. Man, he's still 5 years from now. And you know what I'm saying? And it's constantly evolving. And then, again, it's not to compare it to me. Like, for example, I don't compare myself. Like, never compare myself to you or the Jamie Newmans or the Jay Francis or the other exceptional individuals that the wisdoms I have. I would never compare myself to them. I compare myself to the 5 years from now.
Right.
10 years from now. And then, but you ask me, well, the question, like, I think you may ask me, whatever, like, what motivates me? Right. Not only my why, but 5 years ago. Where I was, and all the things, or even a year ago, and look how far I've come in that 1 year. You see what I'm saying?
And it's just like, oh,
and then just and it keeps me going. It keeps me getting back up. Yeah, I may fall, but like they all say, fall on your back, so you can get back up. Don't fall on your face. Yeah. And so that motivation, looking back, like, man, I remember where I was. And I see where I want to be and where I want to get to.
Right.
Well, I'll get up. You got more work to do. Let's go.
Right.
And so for me, it's that motivation. When that alarm clock goes off at 4 or 3, I tell you, it's an emotional event every morning. It's an emotional event. But it's like, kid is out there. The standard's out there. All these guys are out there trying to get my spot.
That's true. Yeah.
And I just want, and the funny thing is, I want them to get it. I do. I want you to get it. I do. I want you to get my spot. Mm-hmm. But I want you to be significantly better than me once you get it.
That competition breeds growth.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly. Facts. Yeah. Amen. Exactly. Okay, let me get back on the questions. Go ahead.
I just want to reflect real quick when you said, I'm looking back. 'Cause I remember where I first was before I came into the Air Force.
Yeah.
A college dropout, working these, midnight, overnight jobs, just trying to see what I was going to do. To the point where I am now, and I know I'm not in any crazy position, but to see how far I've come from there is the reason. I was like, I've already done all this. That's even more reason to keep going.
Can I pause here? If you don't mind to interrupt you a second?
Sure, yeah.
I don't like what you just said. One part of it, I like what you said as far as the growth and all that stuff, but when you said, I'm not this, I disagree. I disagree completely. Because you know why?
Why is that?
It's still a part of your story. Who's I tell you, over here, brother, I'm not over here judging you, and nor should anybody whoever watches the video be judging you. You know what I'm saying? And nor do I want you to judge you either, based off of some unrealistic expectation or somebody else's standard. Again, because you know where you're at right now is where you're supposed to be, right?
Right.
And so, I love everything else you said, but that it's kind of it was slight. That self-deprecation there, and I just want to read it out because because that takes root. It's kind of like a seed that takes root. That self-deprecation because then you're like, well, I'm not here, I'm not there, I'm not this, I'm not that, and then that stuff kind of adds up, right. And all of a sudden it's almost like, well, now it becomes this insurmountable task to get to this level.
Yeah.
But it's like, why is that even a problem? Because now, if you truly, because now you know why? Because you're slowly but surely, but it's subconscious. You're comparing yourself, right? I don't know to what or to the who or whatever, or even could be to yourself though. But here's the thing: that give yourself some grace. You're right. You're not where you were, but hey, brother, do you know where you could be? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you pause for a second, you think about, man, where I could be. man, it could always be worse.
That's true.
Always. So that's why I said take a step back and just appreciate the moment, appreciate the here and now. Like more importantly, when you asked me, or I found out about doing this, and you asked me to do it, and then I got the question, I kind of got like a little kid, almost like giddy inside. Not so much about me talking. I'll talk to anybody. It was not about that, but one to help you. Because that's why I'm here again, to help everybody. I want to help you. And so if this is your vehicle to help other airmen or to help future airmen or to help whatever, anything I can do to do that, to help facilitate that, or to cause that to have good positive momentum,
Right.
sign me up. And so now to be a part of this movement that I think you have going on, I'm in awe. And so to me, I applaud you. And I think it's just ingenious, to be quite frank, because and our police say, don't stop.
Right.
This influence that you're having on so many people out there that probably has no idea who you are and will never ever meet you. But that video that they may come across of yours about X, whatever that is, you never know that impact that it may have on that particular person.
Sure. And
then the funny part is the timing of that video, though, could be a point where, not to go morbid, could stop them from making a decision. Hey, suicide, or hey, I'm coming to Air Force. Because if he can do it, I can do it.
Sorry, we have a hot task that we need your review on for the end of the day.
Gotcha.
You
take a pause.
Sure, yeah.
Yes.
No problem.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. I'll stop being long-winded.
All right, so let's see where we left off. We were talking about leadership. I guess, what was your biggest success moment that you can remember as a leader?
Wow. Big success.
Or a highlight of some sort, yeah.
You know, it's funny. I would just say to narrow it down to only one singular highlight or one event, it would be I would be remiss, to be honest. I think any time I have had the opportunity to either directly or indirectly help shape people in a way that to help them get promoted, or to help them to get a job, or whether that be writing a letter of recommendation or doing an assessment for them to do kind of get them put them in a better position to strategically give them a roadmap to get to accomplishing their goal, and then that culmination is a rank or a job or an opportunity. I have so many of those different events that for me, it's like winning an award for me every time. And so when you asked that question initially, that's what I thought of. All those times I was able to help people to do different things. And again, it's not about me. It was just like I was in an opportunity. I was in the right place at the right time to be able to help influence. And they asked. And yeah. And then for me, yeah, I think about selfishly from my wife, to asking me, her opinion about promotion or different things to other people. I've today, one of my older troops was like, "Chief, I want to be an ALS instructor." He's like, "And I need a letter of recommendation. I want you to write it." And I was like, "Man, I would love to." I was like, "Shouldn't this come from your commander?" He's like, "No, it should come from you." And so, and I don't know if I agree with him or not, but just the fact that I've done something influential, or that made him want to ask me or other people to seek my advice or my opinion about different things, it makes me feel not only humbled and honored, but just kind of valued and appreciated. So sorry, that was a long answer to say. There's so many. I have a lot because I don't. And unfortunately, there I go, we get long-winded again. I don't see leadership as me leading people. Yeah, that's because that's an aspect of it.
Right.
But there's other things that whether I'm influencing, I'm advising, I'm doing other things that culminates in the umbrella of leadership. But for me, there's a lot of different tentacles that come with being a leader, and so that's when so for me that I see all those other things that culminate in those highlight moments of being a leader, if that makes sense.
That doesn't make sense. We did the biggest success. Was there any time, not to call you out, but to say that you felt like you could have done better as a failure or something?
Man, yes. It's been a ton. I hate to say it. There's been a ton. I guess you're asking for one highlight one.
If you can, or
Yeah, I would say a year ago, I felt like a complete failure. So at our RF Millenhall, we had a gate runner, and unfortunately, we had an individual foreign descent coming in through the outbound gate undetected, and they were able to get back off base undetected. And obviously, as you know, that's a big no-no, especially in a foreign country, and it was just. And that also in England, also that was in 2017. They also had a gate runner as well. So now, a few years removed, another one. And so they did a command director investigation by the 2-star, led by the 4-star. And it was my leadership was called into question. My ability, our ability as leaders, but me personally to lead a squadron, how to lead people, and all that stuff. And it hit me hard because. The 2-star, no kidding, was like, basically we're garbage leaders. We let him down. We disappointed him, and he said it not as fiery as I just said it. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if you got fussed out by a 2-star, but at that point I had not. And that was not only was it humbling, but it was I questioned everything. I did a lot of self-reflecting. What could I have done better? And throughout the process, I kind of went inward. Because I think why I say it was a bad thing. I think people applauded me for how I kind of helped the squadron kind of come together in the midst of that command director investigation, because it felt like a wire brush to everything in the squadron. It was just it was thorough look and investigation, how it should be.
Right.
But it was just it just hurt a lot, because I felt that it was affecting a lot of exceptional airmen defenders, and it painted us in a bad light. And yeah, we weren't perfect, and we had some errors, and we had some things we needed to improve upon for sure.
Right.
But in the way that it was done, it just hurt. It just hurt because I felt like in a way it was like, how can I help put this squadron back together? And to be honest with you, I didn't have the answer. And luckily, powers that be, my commander at the time was PCSing, and they brought another interim kind of commander. There's going to be a kind of a gap there, but they brought another graduated commander in, and that were right there. I took that opportunity during the investigation where I felt like I failed, and I felt like I did. Because I would argue I felt like personally and also professionally, because personally for family, I went mute. I did because I didn't. I felt like a failure to them because I was representing them. And at the squadron level, I'm the chief. I'm representing the squadron, and this happened on our watch. And so I was like, I'm take my lumps. What can I learn from it? Kind of grow from it, and we kind of rallied. And so I just took it one step at a time, one day at a time, really, to be honest with you, and said, hey, how can we rally together to come behind the cause of fixing the problems we had, because we had some problems, and how can we remotivate and get the airmen. The airmen behind where we're trying to get to and where we're going to go. And I'll be honest with you, it was probably one of the hardest times as a leader,
Definitely.
but it was at the end of it was one of the most rewarding. And so I'll be honest with you, I don't ever want to go through that again. but I would say I had to go through it to make me the person I am today.
Sure. Okay. All right. Going on. So, and you mentioned this a few times. I heard from a few mine CEOs that you are a life coach. Is that how'd you get into that?
Oh, yeah. So I so a few years back, when I was in Colorado, actually, it was an up and coming kind of certification out there,
Okay.
And I found out that the Air Force Academy was offering life coaching opportunities for their instructors and different things, and so I was like, man. So I ended up finding out about learn more about just life coaching, what that does, and so I was like, oh, I could do that. So I ended up getting certified to do that. And then, but then I really didn't use it. Really, I didn't really kind of use it. I was kind of like, It's just more training. I just put that in the toolbox kind of thing, and then then I found out about some other. It became a fad, really. It kind of took off. Just coaching as a whole kind of took off from fitness, spiritual, life, health. It was just so many. It was like coaching became the new thing, and I was like, oh yeah, let me dust this back off. And so then, that's when I got to England, I was like, oh, I am kind of certified in this. I can do some life coaching. And so that's when I started doing it on my spare time and started coaching different people, kind of cutting my teeth for different things. And then when I got here, I found out about a health coaching certification that was it was kind of no different than one I had already at first I thought. And so it was kind of like what I have already on steroids. Because it kind of gave me that health coaching kind of perspective and education and knowledge, but also it became me board certified as a health coach internationally.
Wow.
So it was a game changer. So for me, it was just like, that kind of, with life coaching, now the health coaching, and, I was already a personal trainer and doing, the fitness piece of it.
Right.
My wife and I stood up our own personal business. It's called Stimulations. It's Stimulations. And so she's finished up her certification as an esthetician, and I call like a skin specialist, as an esthetician. And then me, the coaching aspect, and now we have this holistic approach to taking care of you as a person. Yeah, and so inside and out. And so my portion of it is called MJS, Transformational Life Coaching. LLC. And so for me, that's kind of my and then she does the esthetician piece of it, and hers is look it's MK. And so those two kind of under the whole stimulations umbrella, because we want to stimulate you to take the necessary steps to be the best version of yourself.
That's a little plug. We'll add a link in the description for you.
Yeah. So I appreciate support. I'll give you a link to the website and all that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. All right. So my last question for you: what would you tell anybody that is, trying to figure out what they're meant to do in life? If you had any type of advice for that?
Oh, that's a good one. It's funny. Stop looking. Stop. Just stop. And then, let me say it differently. I apologize. Stop looking outwardly and look internally. And I heard Steve Harvey say it. So I'm a big YouTube motivational speaker every morning. Same. And so one of the things he said that was absolutely blew my mind, because I was like, how do you find out your purpose or your calling and all that stuff? And I watch everybody from Jay Shetty to all kinds of people on how to find out, and they really didn't have a good answer as to how to do that. They gave me these philosophical ways to do that. But Steve Harvey came out and was just like, what do you do the absolute best without any effort? That's it. What do you know what I mean?
Right.
What do you do the absolute best with a minimum amount of effort? Like him was telling jokes. Me, caring for people. You being an influencer. You see what I'm saying? And so, and the funny thing is, I think a big reason why I tell you stop looking outward and look inward, because so many people don't think that's a gift, or don't think that's a talent, or they think that everybody has it. That's not really truly the case. Because if you look left or you look right and you're like, everybody's probably not doing what you're doing on that level. Especially, and here's the funny thing is, and where I think where your purpose and your calling kind of marry up, it's called when you figure out what that is, and you figure out what about that you enjoy, and then you do that full time. You don't even have to get paid to do it. You know what I mean? You're going to leave out of bed in the morning to go do whatever that is.
Definitely.
And so for me, coaching is my thing. And so me going in and helping you to get out of your own way, or just figure out your story, or helping you to accomplish your goals, man, that's like me. For me, that's like solving a puzzle. You know what I mean? Or a riddle. And so, but for other people, they're like, "Oh, hell no, that's not what I want to do." You know what I mean? Versus like, or public speaking, or other things that you do absolutely easy. right? Your ability right now to ask these absolutely influential questions, to be poised and calm under. I watching a lot of your videos and interviewing your commander, interviewing me, all these, and doing just being an influencer. You know what I mean? That's like, what just made you go do that? I'm curious.
What made me go do that? Honestly, so my first video that's talking about like why I joined the
Oh
military.
yeah.
I go into a little bit about like, like why do you want to fight for a country that doesn't fight for you type
Oh
thing.
yeah. I saw that.
And
yeah.
so I just kind of wanted to like speak my piece, and explain that, and I don't know, like give the side of a lot of us that do join
Yeah.
why we did that. And then I kind of found again my like love for just like talking and like having conversations. And I watch a lot of other YouTubers, and like those are the things that helped me. So when I first made that video, I had like 50 views, and I was like, oh my god, like 50 people watched my video,
Yeah, that's huge.
And after that, it was, I just made another one, and it kept going. So why I did that, it was the same reason. If there was a kid out there that was hesitating for the same reason that I might have been hesitating to do something that I knew I wanted to do, that'd have been worth it,
Well,
So,
one, thank you for sharing that.
definitely,
Two, more importantly, thank you for sharing your gift,
of course, yeah.
because it's huge. And so that's why I tell people, if I can give them advice, just stop looking out there, look
Right.
internal. What do you like doing? What do you, I mean? What and then what are some things that you don't realize? And so when you start looking left and right, you realize, hey, that probably is a talent or a gift that I have that someone else doesn't have. Like, for example, I would argue most people don't have your ability to influence, to communicate, to articulate, to ask and pose those nice, intrusive but yet surface level questions. To be poised on camera. All the other things that you have a natural knack of doing that. You know what I mean? Now, I'm sure you got some training over time. I'm sure you cut your teeth. You probably learned some things but still, though, you're still coming back at it. And here's what makes it even more special. Because it's so important to you, you want to continue to get better at it. Right? And so you're going to do the work. Again, why would you? And here's the funny thing. This I know is a talent because you want to do the work.
Yeah.
Because if it was something you did, you was like laborious or you hated doing, you didn't want to go do it.
Right.
Are you gonna put the work in? Hell no. Let me answer that. Hell no. You ain't.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're just not gonna do it.
Yeah.
But things that you enjoy doing, you're gonna put the effort and energy in. You'll get up at 4 o'clock. You'll stay up all night to make sure that the video is good to go. It's edited correctly. The sound is good. The lighting is like So all those other things that come that comes into that. You're gonna put that energy and effort into doing it.
Definitely.
But versus me, if you tell, hey, Mikey,
That one's good.
yeah, I mean, if you said, Mikey, go do that, I'm like, can I pay somebody? Yeah.
I think it's definitely easy to like look at the world and what other people do and try to do that, If that makes does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense, but
Okay.
But gosh, can I now interview you? Do you realize how powerful that is?
I mean, I am now. Yeah.
Yeah. But no. The fact that you want to, and the way you phrase it was so eloquent too. It's not about you emulating other people that are doing these things or whatever,
Right.
but you realize that, hey, it's tangible. Mm-hmm. That is reachable, and the fact that you just see it, you're like, oh, well, I can do that.
Right.
Do you know how many people? I would argue, probably millions of people out there that look at something like that and see what they can't do, or why they can't do it, or why they shouldn't be doing it, or whatever the case may be. Versus you look at it like, well, it can be done. They're doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so look at again. That's another gift. And so that's why I tell people, don't just speed past that. Don't just speed, because when you start looking internally, you realize how important that really truly is, because everybody doesn't have that same gift. I don't. This is learned behavior. This is learned over time that, hey, it is doable. It is plausible. One of the things I used to do, because it was a period of time that I didn't have really good mentors around me at the time, kind of in between after the Fort Dix and some other ones. And I think it was Simon Sinek or I forgot who it was. I watched the video. It was like vicarious learning, but also not only vicarious learning, but also emulate. If you don't have a good like mentor or a good advisor or whatever the case may be, look at their bio. And what they did, or people that you want to go into their jobs to do, be in their particular jobs, or whatever the case may be. Look at their bio, and then look at that what the different things they've accomplished, whether it be school, positions, different things, locations, and be like, okay, let's do a reverse timeline and see. And now you have somewhat of a blueprint, somewhat, or a roadmap to be able to get there, to be able to accomplish what they did. Now, timing, a lot of luck, a lot of grace, a lot of opportunity. God, I get some blessings on your life to be able to do that. But still, now you still have a blueprint, a roadmap, versus just reaching at the stars. I'm like, I want to be, I want to be the president. I mean, okay. Well, how do you get there? You know what I mean? Versus if you look at, pick a president and you see their career path and what they did and how they got there, then hey, that gives you different things to a position to start from, versus just being like, oh, I want to do that. And it's just like for me, I think Denzel Washington said it. When you take it from from a dream to a goal, you actually put it into action.
Right. Sitting at a table or something.
Right. Yeah. Because he was like, because I was like, because people dream all day long.
True.
Everybody dreams every night.
Right.
But to make it a goal and actually go after it, now it becomes tangible.
Right.
Now you can go get it. And so, last but not least, my last quote that I always love to go by, and it's not really even a quote, really. It was T.D. Jakes. He was like, it's all about the journey. Look at the journey. And this is where actually going back to your point, you could kind of spice this back in. But one of the things I realized that was huge that I failed at, to be honest, I was so focused on the accomplishment that I missed all the things I learned on the journey to get to that accomplishment. And that's where I feel like I failed because I didn't really appreciate the work, whether it be the workouts or the studying or the test or the position that I was in or the people I came into contact with, all those different things. I didn't appreciate all those things because I was just focused on getting a tab or that degree or that rank or pick it in there. And so what I would say I would ask for you and others, like, don't focus on. I mean, yes, let that goal out there to be the best videographer or be that best influencer to make staffs or whatever it is that your goals are. Yes, I want you to have those. But take a step back and watch yourself on a journey to become that staff star, that influencer, or whatever. Because that to me is that's the beautiful piece of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's the beauty, because then it's like, because then when you do accomplish it, you realize all the things that took you to get there.
Right.
Because when you don't do that, you don't remember none of that. I mean, remember some high points or low points or whatever the case may be. Yeah, you remember that.
Sure.
But you don't remember that struggle.
Yeah.
You don't. And so that's where it's like, just take the time. And that's where, for me, when people are like, oh, take the opportunity to smell the roses. And I always tell people, and in my coaching session, another plug, right? I always tell people, okay, they tell me whatever problems they have going on, whatever situation. Okay, take a step back. Now take a knee. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? Stop, look, listen, and smell. Around you in an environment. What, and it really kind of goes through all those senses and really see, okay, what is that situation doing? And how's it affecting you? What is it doing to you that's causing, whether it be something negative, positive, whatever the case may be. How's it affect? And then more importantly, how's it affecting people around you?
Right.
You know what I mean? Take a step back for a second. Okay, roger that. Now what do you want to do about it? You know what I mean?
Right.
Instead of just complaining about the problem, okay, roger that. We got the statement. Boom. Problem statement here. We got, okay, and what are we going to do about it? And now, but taking that step back and then taking a knee, it's kind of, just breathe for a second. Like, okay, now look at the situation holistically. Okay, now I'm gonna walk you through, as your coach, let's pick that apart. Why is it really a problem?
Mm-hmm.
How is it affecting you? How's it affecting people around you? How long has it been going on? And so forth and so on. Trying to get after that problem, because now we need to work it down to what is the root cause of that particular problem. Because a lot of people typically try to fix symptoms versus the actual root cause of it. Like, why are you actually sick? Right? You know what I mean? And then, so now you got, now once you got the root cause of it, now you can start addressing that. And then it will obviously fix the symptoms. And before you know it, you're healed. And so that's where it's just like people, and that's where people get frustrated because they're focused on the symptoms.
Right.
You're never going to be able to, not going to say never, but it's just going to take significantly longer to be able to really truly get to the root cause of it and actually course correct and now get out to where you're trying to get to as far as accomplishing that goal.
Very important to sit back and see
Yeah.
how you're doing in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, because here's another thing that, like you said, like when I paused you for a second, and you were like, it was slight, but I kind of that self-deprecation.
Right.
When you sit back in that particular moment, and you're like, you could sit there and wallow in, man, I'm not where I want to be.
Right.
But when you look back, you're like, man, but look at where I am, though.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and then, but here's the funny thing: I don't think people do this. Mel Robbins has a book that called High Five Habit, and so I'll tell you, when was the last time you high fived yourself? That physical high five yourself.
Shit, it's been a long time.
Right, or even in the mirror, or reflection of yourself. When was the last time you high fived yourself?
I can't remember.
Exactly. Most people, to include myself. I had never. I to be honest with you, I had never high fived myself. I thought it was the dumbest thing in the world. But then I was like, when you think about a high five,
right?
What do you immediately think? Why are you high fiving somebody? What comes to mind?
I did something good.
You did something good, right? Or were you giving that high five? What does that mean?
Somebody else, something good. I want them to feel appreciated for what they did.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, so how awesome would that be to give that to yourself? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so when you look in the mirror, in the book it talks about high five yourself and the significance of it, right? But more importantly, the takeaway I want for you and your reviewers, when you wake up in the morning and you high five yourself, as corny as that may sound, right? You're high fiving yourself, right? You're applauding yourself.
Right.
You're looking at all the things where you were and all those things, but more importantly, you're appreciating yourself. Mm-hmm. And here's the two things I want you to take away from that is not only are you appreciating yourself, but I don't know why people don't do this. And actually, I may post this on social media today. Okay. You need to be the hero in your own story. Right?
Right.
Instead of the villain, or instead of some character off in the way, you need to be the hero in your own story, right? And because a lot of times you're allowing other people to write your story. Like, take that pen back. You write your own story, and you be the hero, right? Right? But because and then that so be the hero in your own story, right? That's number one. But two, more importantly, appreciate you. Like, really, truly do that, because we talk about like as in the Air Force right now. I was DoD in the military, inside and outside the Air Force. Whether it be retirees or individuals separated, active duty, guard, reserve, whatever the case may be.
Right.
Suicide is prevalent.
Definitely.
Mental health is prevalent, and so even I went through bouts of depression. And so when you think about it, you're like, well, why are so many people wrestling with mental health issues and concerns and problems, right? And for me, it's like, again, I was focusing on all these symptoms, right? But when I started working down the root cause of it, I don't think people really truly appreciate themselves, and they don't appreciate their worth and their value, because I didn't.
Right.
I didn't. I didn't appreciate, what are the things that I accomplished, the things I've done, the father, the husband, the chief, or all the other things that I've been able to accomplish. I didn't view all those things. I didn't think about it. There was just back in my mind. Mm-hmm. But was at the forefront of my mind was all those negative things. That woes me, all that stuff. But versus, again, take a step back, taking a knee, and just being like, okay, why should I value myself? Why should I appreciate myself? What have I done to warrant that? And then if you're truly honest with yourself, and you start answering those questions of all things you've been able to do, and stop, don't woe is me. Look at all those accomplishments. Look at the things, whether it be some trophies, if you're a little bit younger, you'll have these awards or different things that you have or whatever. Look at those things. And it's like, you did it. Yeah, you may have had some help, but at the end of the day, you accomplished it. And I don't think people take the opportunity to take it to say, man, I did that.
Right.
That's not cocky. That's not arrogant. That's just self-appreciation.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And I think Will Smith said this. How can you love someone else if you don't love yourself?
Right. Can't fill somebody else's cup with an empty cup type thing.
Fact, right? Right? Because where you getting the water from?
Right.
I mean. And so, it's so funny to me that that it took me a little bit later on in life to realize that. But I'm truly blessed and thankful that now I got it. And so now I'm like, I'm gonna bust you open with water. Like I'm gonna fill you up. Like I'm gonna take the opportunity to fill you up. What, you don't have a place for me to start putting water in? I'm gonna make my own hole, so I've been pouring water into you. You know, to fill your cup up, because it's like I need you to see, like, hey, you're important. You're valuable. Your life is important. The fitness thing, your future self is important. Your future family is important that you don't even know about yet. Right. Like right now, do you have any kids?
No, I don't.
Yeah, are you married?
No.
So I knew the answer to all these. But the reason why I said that is you're making decisions now that could adversely, potentially, affect them.
Right.
Right? How selfish are you if you prevent that from happening? Right? Or you do something that causes that not to happen, versus you make some positive choices, positive things. Now that's going to positively affect them in the future. Right? Or that your future significant other, potentially you have kids or not have kids or whatever. Again, and maybe it's none of that, but your future self is counting on you though.
Right.
And I didn't realize that. And so that's where I often tell people. I told somebody last week that came to me and was like, Chief, I need help. And I was like, Roger that, what's going on? And I made him like, he kind of got mad at me actually. I said, hey, turn your phone on. Why don't you turn your camera on? Turn it to yourself and put on record. What do you see? And I usually do it in the mirror for people. And people tendency is to start saying something negative on themselves. Typically, like, oh man, I gained some weight, or I got a wrinkle here, or my hairline's not where it was, or I don't have a fresh cut, or what I mean. So something, and it's just like,
right.
Seriously? And he did the same thing, and I started laughing, and I took the phone away from him, and I was like, tell me something positive about yourself. Do you know it took a strong 5 to 7 minutes before he could think of one positive thing? And I was like, man, we got work to do. Fast forward, he ended up crying, and it wasn't about the crying or anything, but I wanted to break down that image he had of himself. Like, why do you think you're that bad? What do you think that's that bad that you can't forgive yourself for? Exactly. It's nothing. It's nothing. Yeah, you may have made some bad choices, and you got to. The consequences are out there. I'm not saying that, but again, ask for forgiveness, but more importantly, forgive yourself.
Right.
And just move forward. What did you learn from it? And then start taking the necessary steps to build. And that's where I try to build that self-worth, that self-love, that self-appreciation. And for me, man, I don't realize how hard that is.
It is hard, definitely.
It is. So either way, sorry, I just took it down a different lane. But that's been one of the hardest things I've been, as far as in my coaching career, that's been a challenge.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's all the questions I had. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, I feel I talk too much. But no, again, I start off like I began. I'm super proud of you, man.
Appreciate it.
I'm humbled and honored that you've asked me to do this, and that you actually are still going to do this. Actually, you're like, oh man, maybe not. I shouldn't have interviewed Chief. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Definitely.
But no, I'm just truly thankful. I am because this is. What I think you're doing is about groundbreaking, number one, but two, I think is going to give a voice to the voiceless,
Mm-hmm.
the people that have no idea that they needed your voice. So
I appreciate
say
that.
thank you for your voice.
I thank you for coming on. I think this is an amazing interview. You know.
Okay,
So
no, thank you.
definitely. So, man, we appreciate you guys for watching. But this is Life of Kev out. All right. That's